Another episode of the Best Bets Show here on the Field of 68's YouTube channel. We are the three-man weave. We're presented by BetRivers. Jim Root, you got Kai McEwen, Matt Cox, some direction, whichever way you're seeing it. We're all here. Matt's back in Chicago. Kai is boots on the ground. I'm going to let him holster where he's at for a second here. Before you reveal that, Kai, do you have any takeaways from yesterday? Not sure how much you got to watch while cruising the roads.
Yeah, Jim, takeaways. Middle Tennessee gets revenge on UAB. How about that? In fitting fashion, by the way, overtime. It's the only way it could have happened after last year's Conference USA tournament. Also, Sparty, surprisingly competitive without Malik Hall against Purdue. A golf clap for them. Sounds like he's out for a while. Sucks for him that they probably go down a couple of notches.
Matthew, what do you got?
Hoot, hoot. Just going to keep mentioning the Owls and how awesome they are. Like in the all-time sleepiest dead spot against a hyper-talented team, they still delivered 1 by 2 touchdowns on the road. And harkening back to the UAB, staying in the Conference USA, Jim, turn off your alarms, Matthew, be professional. Selling UAB continuously throughout the rest of the year. Andy Kennedy has like the sky is falling quotes in his pressers now. And it's like, okay, I don't know if I didn't buy it totally before, but now it's like, okay, there's some real issues there.
Yep. And no jelly really hurts. That kind of cuts into their major production. Second leading scorer in the country, I believe. I'll give a shout out to Miami, Florida for the massive comeback against Syracuse. Looked like they were dead and buried. Orange really missed out on a big time potential win there. And then also Illinois, fellas, might really be back. Just a fantastic road performance. I feel bad for what this might say about what Sky Clark was doing to the team, but they have certainly been a lot better with the pecking order more sorted out. Okay, we go to the outline now. We start with a big old rivalry in the Little Apple. Kansas, a 1.5 point favorite on the road, at Kansas State. Kai, I'm going to go to you first because you might have an interesting perspective on this one.
I do. I'm going to be in the building, Jim. First time in the Octagon of Doom. I'm seeing K-State, Kansas. I am stoked. We saw what Kansas did in the hype environment against Mizzou. I'm hoping that's not the case tonight because my best bet's on K-State. I'm fully going full homer here. I'm riding with the purple fans in the audience. I think my seats are pretty good. I'm stoked to watch. Matchup-wise, K-State's defense has lagged in the Big 12, to say it politely. I do think KU has some edges there on offense, especially from the perimeter. But I like the heart of the Octagon, Matt. We all know it's a tough place to play. I'm rolling with the crowd. Best bet plus 1.5 now. BetRivers took money, went down.
Is it against the rules, Jim, to vehemently disagree with your colleague's best bet, especially when he's in the building? Because I do. I like the Jayhawks. Yes. Shocking and not surprising to, I guess not shocking or not surprising to anyone watching who has watched this all year. I know K-State's really good. I think this is a great spot for Kansas. 3 road games this year, Mizzou, blowout, impressively came away with the victory and cover at Texas Tech. And then to go into West Virginia and take care of business as well. I mean, I think it's a team, Jim, with like the veteran nucleus of Harris and McCullough and Wilson. I mean, they have some youth obviously there, but like they're not in any interest in like blowing teams out at home. And I think that's why they've actually not been as good as a home favorite, but they're trying to win games. And I think this is a better spot to back them. As awesome as Fog Allen is, I think KU is actually a better value bet on the road. And I think going, Kai, how long's the drive? You just did it, about an hour or whatever.
It's about an hour from Lawrence. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think they get this done tonight. I will say historically, though, K-State always plays KU close, it seems like, at the Octagon of Doom. And this year they have a categorically better team.
Matt, I'm never letting you get away
disagrees.
With these. They play.
I love it. I love it.
I'm bringing the data for you. Kansas has won 9 of the last 10 outright, covered 7 of the last 10. I believe it's only 3-2 at the Octagon of Doom, though. Going even further back, Kansas won 15 of the last 16. Like, they don't lose to Kansas State. 10-5-1 against the spread over that 16. But Kai's a new era. This is Jerome Tang. This is not Bruce Weber.
Yes.
Hard to take all that historical stuff as fact when it's a completely different team.
I'm here.
Keontae Johnson. Yeah. Kai's in the house.
Come on.
Back in the home squad. So there are some factors that are certainly not showing up in that data. I fear that Kansas has the right kind of matchups for Keontae Johnson. They've got a lot of big wings, and you can just kind of rotate those guys on him. McCullough, Wilson, Dick's not really a lockdown defender, but you've got a lot of bodies to throw at him. and K-State doesn't have the depth of offensive options. You need Carter hitting shots. You need Masood hitting shots. You need those complementary threats to be stepping up in a big home environment. So we'll see. I kind of lean more towards Kansas just because like they win games and it's not a big spread they have to do. But Kai, how about this? Kansas by 1, your best bet covers, and
I'll take it.
Everybody's kind of right. Yeah,
I just want a good
Kai,
game, you know.
Point in your favor, real quick, Kai. Sorry, Jim. 2 of the last 3 at K-State were close. I'm vividly remembering the one in 2020 and the last year was very competitive. But you're right. Every other game, I'm just going through KenPom, KU with
K-State's
conviction.
been a little bit down recently in years past. This is not Jacob Poland's. Well, it is this year, but it's not this. It's not Jacob
Michael
Poland's
Beasley's
K-State team last couple of years, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not the 2019 team that tied for the conference championship.
That's right
with Kansas. Like that's it's fun. It's in the past now. But let's move to a couple other Big 12 showdowns here. I wanted to do the whole first section Big 12, but there's only 3 Big 12 games today, so couldn't fill the whole pre-chat mob section with it. Sorry, Matt, the theming got a little bit thrown off. I know that bothers you.
It's fine. I'll tolerate it.
We'll go to Hilton Magic here, Hilton Coliseum in Ames, Iowa State hosting Texas. 2.5-point home favorites here, Matt. Do you still believe that Texas is better on a neutral than Iowa State? Texas feels like the team that's gotten away with some real coin flips late, some comebacks. Are they better than the Cyclones? Do you think this line is correct?
No, I'm sorry. I guess technically I think it's a fair price by the book of handicapping, whatever you want to call it. And that kind of stems from the fact that I feel like Iowa State was overrated for most of last year. The betting markets. And I felt like to start this year, they kind of were. But now I've completely flipped the switch to like, no, Iowa State's undervalued. And that's saying something at 13th in KenPom. And I think they're especially undervalued against this Texas team, which I've been beating the fade drum for the most part the last couple of weeks. Iowa State should have won that game in Fog. They're awesome. I thought the loss of Kuntz would actually be a huge loss because he's such an awesome shooter. I think that team sometimes can go through scoring shooting droughts. They've got it by committee. I think Holmes is a great, running the show. Kalschler continues to hit tough mid-rangers. They protect the rim at all costs. I think the Clones first half is my preferred wager here, Jimbo. Just looking at what Texas has done in the last 2 second halves. Marcus Carr talked on this program After Dark, I believe, about how their team has that second half. We can come back from anything mentality. I think that trend maybe continues today at Hilton. Maybe a slow start is what I'm saying for Texas.
Not at Hilton Magic, baby. Not at Hilton Magic. Both these teams are 4-1 in the Big 12, but Iowa State's like way more impressive. I mean, that's just a fact. Texas could have lost to Oklahoma, TCU, Texas Tech. They could have dropped all 3 of those games and be in a completely different standpoint right now. Iowa State's defense is just good, man. It's relentless. It's tough. Texas can't relax with the ball. They've been pretty good handling the rock, but man, in Hilton Coliseum, I think it's going to be pretty tough. They're only going to get one chance on the majority of their possessions, right? Iowa State defensive rebounds better than any team in the country, it seems like, especially in the Big 12. And their offense has actually been really good, Jim, in Big 12 play. Hot shooting for sure. Yes. But regardless, they attack the glass with a fervor. They get loose balls. They're extremely well coached. So I actually lean towards the Clones here at Hilton. The Magic's real. I'm going Iowa State and K-State. That's right. I'm backing the up-and-comers right now.
Yeah, I'm close to backing Iowa State too. I just am really not sold on Texas post Beard. They've won games. They have not dropped in analytical rankings very far, but eye test, it just feels like they need some really, really hot runs late in games for them to win. Now on the road, students are back in Ames. You're going to have full Hilton Magic. I would definitely lean towards the Clones. Kyle, you mentioned hot shooting. Gabe Kalscheur shot 24% from 3 last year.
Yeah.
In league play so far, he's shooting 49% from 3, literally doubling his output from beyond the arc. In 3 Tier A games, categorized by KenPom pre-conference, he was 1 for 14 from 3. And now suddenly he's like a scorching fireball. How long does that last? Is it real? I'm skeptical, but I still just like the spot for Iowa State. A little bit of a sell of Texas. I would go Clones in that one. Next up, Baylor at Texas Tech. Bears had a big home victory against Oklahoma State over the weekend, dominated a Musa Cisse-less Cowboys team. They actually lost at home to Oklahoma State last year, so there was some revenge factored in there. And then Texas Tech, still winless in the Big 12, gave Texas a heck of a fight on the road with the return of Fardaws. Kai, yes. Does he make the difference here? Is this what's going to get the Red Raiders over the hump and get their first conference win?
I think it's Tech's game. The market agrees. Them being a 2.5 point favorite basically tells you all I need to know, because on the number, I kind of lean Baylor, but the spot's all Texas Tech. Yeah, 0-5 in the Big 12. 4 of those losses are by 5 points or less. Again, like Texas, their record could look a lot different if a couple breaks go their way. Amac's back. He made a big impact last game against Texas. I think 12 points off the bench. He's only going to get healthier, more in shape. He's huge for their depth. I mean, Bacho was already playing very well. Now you add another, potential all-conference guy when he's fully healthy. I think that's huge for them. Baylor's looked a lot better, Matt, the last 2 games, but it's still a very tough team. I just think this spot screams Texas Tech. They need to pick up cheap fouls and work their opponent at the foul line, which I think they might be able to do against Baylor. But it's all environment. It's all spot here for me at Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's why I didn't bet Baylor. I actually like Baylor just on the price. I think they being a dog against Texas Tech. I'm just not a fan of this team. I thought they looked somewhat inspired the last game with the return of IMAC. I'm not sure he makes like a world difference, but he does add another physical body up front at minimum alongside Bacho, which helps them. And it probably could help in this matchup against Baylor, who's not exactly Thor in the front line. They're more positionless, more switchable. That's kind of their MO. But yeah, coming off 5 straight losses, the last of which look very competitive, and I think inspired. I'm not looking to fade them in this spot.
Yeah, Baylor, they're 2-3 in the Big 12, but I do think they're kind of starting to ascend a little bit. Keontae George has been awesome in Big 12 play, like all-American caliber, kind of what we hoped we might get from him, which takes some of the creation burden off of Flagler and Cryer, who are better suited as complementary, like awesome, dominant shooters. So George's emergence, I think, really helps. But Texas Tech, man, yeah, having IMAC in there, they don't have to play O'Banner at center, and that like completely undercuts the defensive structure that Adams has cultivated there. They're fantastic at protecting the lane, but when you're playing O'Banner, who's like a stretch 4 at center, it's kind of tough to live that identity. So again, I'm with these guys. I like Baylor towards the number. The spot scares me off. I'm going to have to sit it out.
The number that caught my eye last game real quick for Baylor, Jimbo, assisted on 75% of their baskets against Oklahoma. Like the ball was zipping. It was good. Connected. We haven't like to say connected. That's like the buzzword of the year. I feel like they're a connected group.
Connectivity. All right. Last one before Chat Mob Part 1, the ACC battle. Clemson at Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons, a -3 favorite here against an undefeated ACC squad in Clemson. Matthew, these two have already played once this year. Wake Forest was up 7 at halftime at Clemson before sort of collapsing and really getting sort of run out by the Tigers in that one. Still no Alex Hemingway for the Tigers. Do they keep rolling here, stay on this big winning streak that they're on, or does Wake pop them in Winston-Salem?
Yeah, well, they remembered what Brad Brownell does to Wake. I think, Jimmy, it was you who brought up the just lopsided, one-sided stats in this matchup. I have no reason to continue trusting such a, it feels like a loose anecdote or a loose trend that is convenient to cite, but the numbers are overwhelming and that performance was overwhelming. And given how good Clemson's playing and the big mo that they're riding with, I'm not looking to fake Clemson. Kai, I did lean Wake though. I think I see some people in the chat looking to back Wake. So if you're not scared by that stupid little juju that I'm mentioning, I think Wake's a good play.
Sorry guys, my internet crapped out for just a second. I'm back. Don't worry, I'm back.
He's good.
Clemson being 7-0 in the ACC is crazy to me. Just crazy. Wake's 5-2. We've seen a little revival to their season after kind of a rough start. They just beat up the dregs of the ACC 3 straight games. But yeah, Steve Forbes 0-2 against Clemson so far. We know what his predecessor did against them. We have the stats. And despite what you might think, which was surprising to me, Tigers, Clemson, not a bad road team this year. 3-1 against the spread and straight up. They can play on the road away from Little John Coliseum. Their defense has been their success story, basically. They have the number 1 defense in the ACC. They're shutting down opponents inside the arc. Maybe the perimeter numbers, Jim, are a little bit fraudy. I think that's due to come down a bit. Clemson doesn't really get out and pressure too much on the 3-point line, but the interior numbers are real. Against Wake, though, they should have an advantage shooting outside. I think they can hit some shots. The number, though, had me leaning Tigers, especially.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
He was about to hit the hammer point there at the end of his rhetoric, but I'm kind of leaning
back?
Wake here. You're back, Kai.
Fuck, man.
I gave out Wake on Beeson. I think it's just a fantastic spot for them. This feels like it's going to turn into a 3-point shootout, given the way Both teams are very compact defensively. Both teams can really shoot offensively. But I think given the home spot for Wake, the more desperation, Clemson has been riding crazy high right now. I like Wake Forest in that spot a little bit better. And, they've taken a little bit of money, which is surprising given how well Clemson has played. But Matt, this is your classic. The ranked team is the underdog. We saw a ton of these on Saturday where ranked road dog loses to unranked home favorite. And I kind of see that happening again here.
Yep, I agree. I like that.
All right, Matthias, my faithful chat czar, what do you got for us?
Yeah, or not so faithful. Just a quick note. Thank you, Ryan, for pointing out that the Weave is, knock on wood, 16-2 in our last 18 on the Redacted Network plays. Just a quick note. We're not always.
There goes that record.
It's going to crash down at some point. Enjoy it while it's cooking.
Yeah, we had to beat our chest real quick there. All right. Anyway, to Aaron Marshall's question, I'm going to go right to mid-majordom, Jim, asking about the Chippewas. The Chips are catching 8.5 at home. They got Zaza back in the lineup last game. Kevin Boopy Miller is nowhere to be found. At this point, that's kind of priced in, so it goes without saying. But what's your take here on this matchup? They're playing. I'm blanking who they're playing.
They're hosting Akron.
Yeah.
Akron's been really, really good, but this is going to be an interesting test for them. Central Michigan's actually started to defend in league play, and Akron just played the turnstile that was Eastern Michigan. So oh my God, this team's actually playing defense is going to be probably a bit of a shock for them. I would maybe lean towards Central Michigan first half, but I did not bet this game. I don't have a great feel on the MAC this year outside of Kent State and Toledo are good. That's all I got.
Yeah, agree. Hey, let's just jump right there to Kent State. Kind of question coming in from Gelderman 1. Kent State to blow the doors off EMU. I mean, this is kind of like the recipe for some of our successful betting recently. I think you just lay with Kent State. It's 2 touchdowns. It's a joke of a spread on the road at Eastern Michigan. But what chance does EMU have to stop Kent State, I guess is my question.
Probably none. I wouldn't take EMU. So it'd be a case Kent State bet or nothing for me. I'd lean towards Kent State. Yeah, they're just that much better.
Kind of like the over there.
Yeah.
Eastern Michigan just surrenders points like it's their job.
Probably a whale play on a multi-max unit play on the team total over for Kent State is probably the best bet there. Connor Platt, Jim, wants us to talk him off Florida State plus 4.5. Connor, I'm about to hop on with you on the Noles at 5. I was on the Noles the first meeting between the Irish and Florida State. That game was at Tallahassee. Florida State won. I believe they were a dog at that game. Now they're only catching 5. I like the Noles. I don't like either team, but I like the Noles a little more.
Yeah, they're a little bit better. Maybe Baba starts to give them some real juice, an actual pro-level talent on that team. Notre Dame just cannot handle any size. And maybe McLeod and Baba are going to give them some troubles in the paint. Notre Dame's just depressingly bad right now.
If he plays.
Hi, Aaron Marshall asking about the total in Toledo. Toledo overs, is that kind of an automatic play at this point? They're playing Ohio, who can certainly score and can certainly give up points. So the recipe does set up for a shootout. That is priced in, though, at 161, the current total.
Yeah, you got to decide if you have an edge over the extremely high total. I wouldn't bet a Toledo under, that's for sure. They're still one of the best over teams in the country. I'd lean towards the over there. Yeah.
Their last
I think the Toledo overrun.
I will note
I was going to say.
That's 2.
Cochran back. People are sick of me mentioning Cochran. I think I'm doing it for a reason. He's an awesome defender, and for a team that had basically zero of what he brings, I think he does kind of matter. Matty Akers, Kyle, I'm going back to you. UNLV at Utah State, which is not in our outline. My goodness, but Utah State bet up to 7, open at 5.5, touchdown, laying it to UNLV, a big number, but Utah State at home certainly warrants it.
Yeah, I respect the home court too much to punch back, but 7's ridiculous. UNLV's really good. Number leaned their way, but the home court has me scared, staying away.
Jim Billy Evers, UMass plus 10.5 at VCU. It's been bet up from 7.5, as he mentions. I was looking to back VCU here. I missed the number. Any interest in counterpunching or taking the Rams at a inflated number off that insane comeback win at Dayton?
Maybe slight interest. Luis is questionable, I believe, for UMass, which matters. He's been really solid for them as a freshman. But in general, it just feels like VCU and Dayton are kind of rising to the top of this league, and I'm sure that's part of why they took money here. I don't have a lot of interest in this one, Matthew.
Kind of potential gross game because Georgia Tech's involved, and I think those 3 games were generally pretty disgusting. NC State is laying, as Rick White points out, 5.5 Now it's up to 6 painted across the board on the road. Thoughts on the side and or the total at 143.5, which will be a pretty big tempo tug of war.
I lean Georgia Tech, actually, Matt. I think they're pretty tough at home. They can be scrappy. They can win games in this arena. I'm not really excited to fade NC State because I've been kind of wrong on them all season. I've been ping-ponging with them a bit. But I would lean their way at 6, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, don't we have some good data on pass runs of dog, Jim? I was hoping you'd dunk that
It's
there.
really
but
good.
They did just lose at home by 11 to Pitt at home as a dog. So
I think he's the best ATS coach in the ACC.
Hard for me to have that on call when it's not an outline, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. You got to anticipate the questions. That's what all the great mobs or the great czars do. Ethan also asking about, Ethan, in addition, asked about Wyoming at Air Force. Man, just a litany of injuries for the Pokes, Jim. At this point, what do you do?
EK, Wenzel, Foster, Thompson, Kyman missed last game. That's 6 scholarship players, like arguably 6 of their top 9. Like you get Odin, Anderson, Reynolds, and Agmangpolo. Okay, that's 4 pretty solid players, but they have no depth. Air Force is actually pretty competent. This is an altitude game for Wyoming. I guess they're used to it. Laramie's elevated. I don't know if Wyoming has the bodies left anymore. They just got blown out at home by Boise State, and now they don't have Maldonado. So I'm not. No, thank you. It'd be Air Force or nothing. Air Troops or nothing.
Yeah, if it hit 5 and like Reynolds was playing or Maldonado, one of those two was playing.
Reynolds is in.
This game. Okay. All right, I'm considering that. Then I don't know. They need one more guy. I still think it's too many. Still a mash unit, as you mentioned. Back to the outline. I'll round up a few more here. Not a massive slate tonight or tomorrow, really. Actually, condensed slate after the MLK hijacked a lot of the games.
Yeah. Okay. Tennessee at Mississippi State. That's where we'll go next to the SEC. The Vols laying 6 on the road against Mississippi State. Kai, bounce back spot for the Vols after they lost at home to Kentucky. The thing that stood out for me from that game, Kai, they lost the glass battle 43-23 to Kentucky. Got smashed, pounded. Mississippi State's a team that can beat you up inside with Tolu Smith, DJ Jeffries, all those guys. Is that something Tennessee needs to be concerned about, or do we see them kind of right the ships and battle back inside?
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that big bag Tennessee guys is only 2-3 against the spread in the SEC. I had that different in my head. Still, fading them is very scary. They have the ability to crush anybody like they did against Mississippi State, Matt, earlier this year. They won by 35 in a 62 possession game. That's hard to do, especially against the 7th best defense in the country. They scored 1.4 points per possession. So it's very possible this Tennessee team just has Mississippi State's number. They might just be a matchup challenge for the Bulldogs, who can't really overpower them with physicality and toughness. Tennessee has that in spades. Mississippi State's offense is the worst in the SEC. So once again, though I lean the number, of course I do, because the market has Tennessee so high, I cannot bag Mississippi State. By the way, they're shooting 51.4% from the free throw line this year in SEC play. Bad. That's not good. That's not a fun team to back. All they can do is hope to make this ugly. They did force 15 turnovers in the first game against Tennessee. They need to force at least 20, and they need to make this a brawl. I'm not sure they can do it, Matt. I'm leaning towards Tennessee or nothing.
I kind of am too. Shockingly, I don't trust Tennessee as a road favorite, especially against a defense that can throw some wrenches in what they do on offense and disrupt their rhythm. But yeah, Mississippi State, Jans's whole mood toward the team the last month has not been good. He kind of basically painted the subtle regression that they've been going through after that stellar undefeated start and after that MTE, what they beat Marquette and I think Utah in that, which is like, I mean, how well have those wins aged at this point? So yeah, I don't know, Jim. I was leaning toward Tennessee, but no appetite to win it.
Yeah, I kind of made a joking comparison on Twitter that UConn is this year's Iowa State. It's more Mississippi State is this year's Iowa State. Like some really solid non-conference performance, get into league play and get exposed, especially offensively. I see a little bit of parallel to that. I think eventually they'll right the ship and get up to 8-10 in the league, but I don't think it starts tonight. I think angry Tennessee, we saw the huge issues they had in the first matchup. Mississippi State couldn't score the ball. I think that shows up again here, Kai. I would lean Vols. The number keeps me off of it. It's very high. All right, next game up on the outline. Jim, your host, remember? Creighton is at Butler. Creighton's laying 7 points. Man, Matt, this one jumped out to me because these teams played at Creighton recently, and Creighton laid 8 points. and now they're on the road and it's 7. I know there are some injuries things going on here. Creighton has played better. Butler's played worse since then. Is that enough to make it almost an identical line despite the venue change?
Yeah, I have kind of a split brain. Matt, technical, right. I can't fathom that that's the case, and I should be betting Butler. And of course, I've endorsed Butler all first month and a half of the year. But as I mentioned on the show this morning, I given up on Butler. If anyone else is still on Butler, what are you doing? I've thrown in the towel. And they have some potential injury question marks as well. I don't trust their depth, even though they've gotten deeper recently. Nothing is really working cohesion wise. I think Creighton kind of goes in there and smacks them. I do. It sounds like a fish play, Kai, but I'm trusting my gut here.
Butler is a house of horror for Creighton. They have not won in this building since 2017, fellas. It's terrible. Creighton can't win at Hinkle. However, I was about to back Butler, and then I remembered, Manny Bates. He missed last game. He's pretty important. He might be out again today. Kalkbrenner's going to crush them inside. It's not even going to be a contest. Butler finally beat a top 80 team again with Villanova. They're barely top 80. Their only other win against top 80 is K-State, which, admittedly looks very good right now. And they didn't roll over and die like we thought they would against Villanova when they lost the lead. But this is a different beast. Creighton's a different animal than Villanova this season. Like you said, they took down Butler by 22 in December in Omaha. I don't think they have any problems at Hinkle today, despite the history here. I still think Butler kind of folds Jim to better competition, and no Bates has me staying away off their side.
Yep, fully agree. We talked about the Eric Hunter splits against better competition. Well, unfortunately, Villanova's not better competition anymore this year. The team's just not good. Barely got by Georgetown yesterday. Creighton already smashed this Butler team in the paint, and that was with Manny Bates. Creighton shot 60% inside the arc, out-rebounded them 37-19. Again, with Bates. You take him out, Kalkbrenner even healthier. I think this is just an absolute bloodbath inside, and that's enough for Creighton to roll. They don't even need to shoot the ball like they did last time. They made 50% of their threes against Butler in the first meeting. I think if they just have a normal shooting day, they're going to be just fine. I don't trust Butler right now. Don't trust them at all. Next up, my Badgers, Buzzcut Badge, hosting Penn State, Wisconsin, a 3.5-point favorite. Kai, they have taken money, largely because, as I would assume, reports out that Tyler Wall practiced in a limited capacity yesterday. Should be available out there. That's massive for Wisconsin on both ends of the floor. Does that make the difference for you and put you in a spot to back the Badgers?
Oh, if he's in, I think it's a Wisconsin bet. But if he's out, it's Penn State. Badgers 0-3 against the spread without Wall, despite the fact that they've actually kind of hung around in those games. They just can't finish. Penn State has tournament aspirations, man. A win here goes a long way towards them getting an at-large. I think the Badger D is tough, but shooting is a great equalizer, Matt. Penn State can pretty much shoot against anybody. It's a scary team to fade the way they can get hot, and there's nobody on Wisconsin from the backcourt that can guard Jalen Pickett. They can't do it in the post. He should find success, especially without Tyler Wall in the lineup. On the other end, if Wall's out, the offense just stalls. They're not going to really take advantage of this Penn State defense, which hasn't been that crisp in Big Ten play. Low possession game, most likely. So that has me leaning towards Penn State if Wall is out. If he's in, I'd probably consider Wisconsin. I'm most likely staying away either way.
I love Penn State today. Even if Wall, I guess what we assume he plays, we assume he's, I don't know how effective he's. I don't think he'll be 100% effective. I think it's safe to say that. And Penn State's been off for basically a week. I think if you're betting on a road team in the Big Ten, you need to feel good about the days off and the spot. You're not caught in some third game in 7 days situation that you might get in the dog days of February. Penn State went to Illinois and just handled Illinois. So we've seen them go on the run in the Big Ten and perform well this year already. I know that was during Illinois' swoon, but still, I think Penn State comes out and makes shots and looks like the Penn State we saw in non-conference today.
I'm curious how Wisconsin handles the Jalen Pickett post-ups, because you don't want to double them. Wisconsin really doesn't want to give up the three-point line just in general. And then against this specific team, you can't. What could happen to Indiana, Matt, when Funk went nuts from deep? I think it was Dredd that also hit 6 threes. It's just ridiculous. If you let this team shoot, they will bury them repeatedly over and over. I think there is something to what Kai was saying about Wisconsin hangs around and then can't finish without Wall, because Wall's their closer. He's the guy they go to late in games. Get me a bucket on that mid post. He did it against Kansas late, brought them back in that game. They just lack that gear without him. So if he's out, I think Penn State's a home run bet, but I like the chat saying he's probable. He's going to give it a go. Matt, I would think maybe Wisconsin first half. Maybe you get like the shot into Wall and he's feeling healthy for the first half. And then that kind of wears off. He's in more pain, hobbled in the second half. I would still lean towards Penn State full game, even with Wall in there, because I don't think he's going to be super, super healthy. Last one on the outline, Houston, the number one team in the country, going to Tulane. Fellas, I'm just going to read you the margins in this matchup in recent years. Houston has won by 20, 14, 11, 25, 23, 21, 13, 35, 31.
Yeah.
7-2 against the spread in that span. I think Ron Hunter is only 7 of those matchups, and I read 9 of them. Dunleavy responsible for the 2 30-point losses. But Matt, this is going to be a bloodbath on the glass. It always is when Samson teams play this kind of zone trappy scheme that doesn't really rebound. So I have a hard time taking anything but Houston here. What do you think?
Yeah, and Jarris Walker is officially playing today. I believe missed last game, and the 2 games before he was out, he looked like an absolute monster. Like the type of piece that I think puts Houston potentially in its own little, cabin of first class if you're doing the stupid plane power ranking of
shots
college
at Jimmy
basketball
Dykes.
teams.
Look at that.
I love that. And I'm sorry, Jimmy, I love you. That's actually really good stuff.
He's okay.
But I love that. So yeah, Jim, that's what scared me away though from taking Tulane, a team that I wrote down as like a good money line spot today. I guess I'd say this: if you're ranking the order of bet value today, I'd say Houston laying it, Tulane money line, and then like a chasm to Tulane with the spread. I just don't think. I think it's a wide range. It's a opposite end of the spectrum outcome today.
If you bet Tulane as a dog, you win if they win the game as well, Matthew.
I know, but I think it's going to be a Houston blowout or Tulane wins. The in-between is the least likely outcome in my stupid mathematical model in my head that I'm running right now.
Tulane's been awesome. They've won 5 straight American games. Obviously, this would be enormous, but I don't see Houston rolling over for anybody, even though the spread is big. It was mildly competitive, Jim, 2 years or in the 2 games last season. Hunter certainly has made a difference. This is by far Tulane's best team in that stretch, but this Houston team is scary. What Tulane needs to do is get to the line. They're the number 1 free throw attempt rate team in the AAC. They're also the number 1 free throw percentage team in the AAC. Pretty good combination and a big reason why they're winning these games, especially down the stretch. And their guards need to step up. You're not scoring inside against Houston. It's going to be tough to get anything in the paint. Their guards have to step up from the outside. So I don't know if I think Tulane's going to stick around here. I'm too scared of Houston. I don't see them winning, but hey, I've been wrong against Matty money lines before.
Yeah, I'd probably go Houston first half here if I had to bet it. I'm not going to, but I think Tulane's shot making can hang around in the second half. I think the physicality will kind of smack him in the face a little bit to start. Tulane's covered 5 straight since the new year. They've actually been really trending up. Jalen Cook looks healthier. Jaden Coleman looks healthier. They've got their backcourt pieces really playing well. But man, yeah, Walker back in there for Houston, kind of an unguardable dimension for them. He can put the ball on the floor or he can shoot from deep. He's big, he's strong, he's aggressive. Add that to Sasser, Tremont Marks playing really well. Their physical defense, the rebounding. It's just kind of, it's a tough formula for Tulane to beat this team unless they're forcing a ton of turnovers and, like Kai said, making like 30 free throws. I think that's kind of a necessity. And it's at Tulane, so perhaps they'll get the friendly whistle. All right, to Chat Mob, part 2. Matthew, you are up.
Scott H asking about Murray at Belmont. Ooh, this line got bashed. Open -4.5, -5, and now Belmont is laying a touchdown, Jim, to the Racers, who have been porous away from home. Yep, Kai, that was my reaction as well. But look at their home road splits; they are pretty stark.
Yeah, that's frightening. It still seems a little high, and these two are actually familiar with each other. This isn't like the MVC facing new team like these.
Yeah, it's the old OVC
for years.
Right?
I would lean towards the road dog there. A touchdown, man, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Belmont struggling with premier or close to premier athletes was kind of their kryptonite we saw in the OVC. I don't think this Murray team has that level, like that was the level that we saw last year, but they're pretty athletic. I think they can kind of maybe present the same issues and sneak inside that number.
A Jacoby Wood revenge game here, right, Matt? The Belmont to Murray State
transfer. That's right. The Belmont to Murray transfer. Kai Ryan A and a few others asking about San Jose State, New Mexico, the Fighting Tim Miles catching 10 on the road at the Pit. Do you have a take?
I leaned towards New Mexico, which is not a popular opinion, I don't think. I think the market loves San Jose State. I've seen people on Twitter like San Jose State. I lean towards New Mexico. I'm really in on this team. I think they can blow them out.
Yeah, our one of our go-to mobsters, Mr. Harry, said it's been an auto play for him, 12-5 against the spread this year. So yeah, Tim Miles knows what he's doing. Guys.
Or San Jose State?
No, San Jose State. Both these teams have been just against the spread juggernauts all year. So it's two unstoppable forces meeting.
Yeah.
Jim, Ryan A's other question. Thank you. I lost on my little cheat sheet here. Georgia at Kentucky. Are we going to fade Kentucky off that win at Tennessee, or is Kentucky solved after one random good game?
I don't think they're solved. They just tried a lot harder. That was literally the difference watching that game, especially defensively. They gave more effort. And I could see that lulling a little bit after a top 5 road victory. Now you play presumed dregs of the league, Georgia, who's actually pretty competent. Mike White's got them competing 3-1 in the league now. Basically double-digit spread. Yeah, I think Georgia can hang around the same way LSU did at Kentucky.
Yeah, Georgia's 4-0 against the number in SEC play, covering by an average of 10 points a game. I know 4 games is a small sample, but still 10-point average cover margin. You can tell the odds makers are still these are not Tom Crean's Georgia Bulldogs. I think that we're finding that out. Ray is asking me to turn my hat forward if I like UIC +3 at Valpo. I'll turn to the side because I don't really have a take here, Kai. We like this drive's basically nothing. Home court's nothing. Valpo's kind of in disarray. UIC is whack-a-mole city, and this is like the biggest stay away from me on the spread today.
I guess I'd lean UIC. Valpo's terrible. I still think they're in shambles. They beat Evansville, but everyone does that. So lean UIC or nothing.
Jim, Peter K, Alabama, Vanderbilt. Obviously, some notable off the court stuff here. I don't really have any appetite to break this game down. Do you?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I will just say that Miles had been ruled out for the season with an ankle injury before the off the court stuff, so it's not going to affect the rotation. They're fine with that. Right. Is there some strange mental stuff? Possibly. I mostly just think Alabama's awesome and can defend like crazy. They can score when they're knocking down shots, and maybe Vandy's a tougher place to shoot because that weird backdrop and the benches behind the basket, but I don't buy too much into that. I kind of like the under, though. I think Vandy's been very smartly trying to slow some teams down. They did it to Arkansas for quite a while, and their defense, especially the way Alabama defends too. I think this could be a little bit more of a slugfest and slower game than the pace projects.
I think that's all we got. I'm sorry. I'm sure someone will chime in saying, how dare you miss my question? I think we hit most of the key ones. Any games on the slate? Hey, Kai, I'll throw you just a little.
No, I'm kicking to you, Matt. Bowling Green Buffalo total 163.
Yeah, over, right? I don't know.
Bowling Green gave up 108 points to Western Michigan. They gave up like a 70-point half to Western Michigan. It's ridiculous. And
this has like the Buffalo DNA of Buffalo just smacking the middle to bad teams in that conference and not letting their foot off the gas. I think that's a good play. Kyle, toss you one that I felt was basically the lamest game on the slate. Southern Illinois hosting Evansville. The Salukis hosting the Aces. This is a 17-point spread, 125-point total. So kind of like a Virginia crockpot situation here if you're looking back to the Salukis.
Evansville's been truly terrible, indescribably bad in Missouri Valley play. Part of that is Siku Kale being out. They play basically 7 guys, and they're just not any good. So I'd lean towards SIU or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like they played a similar-ish Bradley team and lost by 45. Like they could get punked.
Good home court too, SIU.
Yeah, yep, I agree. All right, let's get to best bets.
All right, best bets. No, we're going to Kai first. Kai, you've already revealed yours, but reiterate it.
EMA, K-State. Is that how they pronounce it? EMA, E-M-A-W. Every man a Wildcat, Jim. Yep. +1.5 at home. Octagon of Doom against Kansas. I'm in the building. Go Cats.
Give it to him, Kai. Matt, what do you got for us?
Yeah, the Paris 11 sniffed out my best bet. Looking at the Flyers, Dayton first half -5.5. Dreadful second half collapse against VCU at home last game. They were dominating that game. They basically dominated every game they'd played the last 6 prior to that. I still think Dayton's for real. That was just a situation of we don't have a real point guard and we faced elite pressure. Davidson will bring nothing of the sort. And I don't like this Davidson team in general. So it's not only a great matchup, a great spot, but also a little bit of a fate of Davidson. There's a lot adds up here. So looking to kind of ride that first half streak. I'm 1-0. So white hot, Jim. after
it's
the
not good when
Vaqueros got it done for me.
A Davidson team can't shoot. They're shooting 24% in league play from three. They're shooting 30% in the season from three. Like, that's Davidson's whole identity, is spacing you out. They can't do it at all. So, yeah, good luck scoring inside against Dayton. My best bet is Western Michigan at Ball State under 145.5. Both these teams have been playing the faster MAC teams, Toledo, Buffalo, Bowling Green. So their tempo is a little bit inflated, but Ball State's actually playing really slow offensively in league play. APL possession length is really, really slow. I think Western Michigan knows they can't super score with Ball State. They're not going to put up 100 like they did against that pathetic Bowling Green defense. I think we see this one slow to a bit of a more half-court game or possessions, and definitely due for some shooting regression, Scott H's favorite word, on the defensive end here, given the way Ball State's opponents have been shooting from three. So I think between that, the slower tempo, kind of the opposite slingshot where they're playing two slower teams after playing a lot of fast ones, like the under 145.5 there. All right, that is it. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is our Tuesday show. We are back on Wednesday, the exact same time. We'll be right here, probably even the same producer behind the scenes. Shout out to Jacob. Kai will be in another city somewhere, I think.
You're right.
We'll find out where that will be revealed to you all tomorrow. But we will see you then. Thank you for tuning in. Good luck on your bets tonight.